Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Delighted that we can be together, even as we are in separate spaces. We join together as one shared Israel community. I'm Rabbi Jessica Graf, joined by, in little tiny boxes at the top of our screen, Rabbi Phelps, going across the top, Jonathan Dimmock, our music director, Peter Bonos is helping us with all of the technology here, Cantor, Toby, Glaser, and Zach McDowell is somewhere out there in the world. So thank you to all of you. We look forward to building a beautiful Shabbat, one after a rather stressful week in the Jewish community, in the world. It's really our privilege to be able to be together and to stand together as a minyan, as a community, to say we are here and we will continue to be here in love and strength to support one another and to be in partnership with our neighbors in the world. I'd like to invite Lindsay Bronig, President of our Board of Trustees, to share some words of welcome as well.
All right, Shabbat Shalom, everyone. As Rabbi Graf said, this is a particularly special Shabbat to gather after what we all sort of went through from afar last Saturday. It's especially special to be together. Shabbat Shalom again, and a huge Mazel Tov also to our bat mitzvah for this weekend, Aurelia Wunsch. We're very proud of her and looking forward to the service tomorrow.
Likewise. Thank you, Lindsay. We are going to begin our service this evening with the lighting of the Shabbat candles, bring in a little light and a little peace into our Shabbat observance. And I understand that Jacqueline Kornblatt is going to lead us in the candle lighting and the blessing this evening. So if we can spotlight her for a moment, and you are welcome, or perhaps something cool on her ceiling.
Wait a second.
Jacqueline, take your time. Jacqueline, did you want to say anything about this Shabbat, or you want to go straight in?
Well, it is a special Shabbat. This is the Shabbat where Martin Luther King, on Monday, is a year that my dear Dr. Elliot Eisenberg passed. So it's been a year. And my dad, 21, almost 22 years ago, also passed on Martin Luther King Day. So I have these two great men to honor and observe every year now. And I just want to thank everybody out there, my friends and members, and thank you for supporting me all last year. And I know a lot of people are going through a lot with family illnesses and COVID. So I really appreciate everybody's help. And as we go, Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav Tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Amen. Thank you so much, Jacqueline.
Amen. Thank you, Jacqueline, and thank you for honoring your beloved Elliot's memory with us this evening. Speaking of beloveds, every Shabbat we have the opportunity to greet Shabbat as our beloved who comes to reside with us for this 25 hours of rest and peace. We're going to sing now L'cha Dodi, which you can find in your prayer books on page 20. And when we come to the final verse, please rise to greet Shabbat.
Yadadadadai lecha dodi, yadadadadai likrat kala, yadadadadai penei Shabbat nekabela, yadadadadai lecha dodi, yadadadadai likrat kala, yadadadadai penei Shabbat nekabela. Shamor וזכור בדיבור אחד, ישמיענו אל המיוחד, אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, שמול תפארת ולתהילה. Yadadadadai likrat kala, yadadadadai penei Shabbat nekabela, yadadadadai lecha dodi, yadadadadai likrat kala, yadadadadai penei Shabbat nekabela. Likrat Shabbat לכו ונלכה, כי מכל הברכה מראש מקדם נסוכה, סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה. ידדדדאי lecha dodi, ידדדדאי לקראת כלה, ידדדדאי פני שבת נקבלה, ידדדדאי lecha dodi, ידדדדאי לקראת כלה, ידדדדאי פני Shabbat nekabela. Hitoreri, ki va'orech kumi ori, כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה, ידדדדאי lecha dodi, ידדדדאי לקראת כלה, ידדדדאי פני Shabbat nekabela, ידי די 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 לקראת כלה, ידי די 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 פני שבת, פני שבת נקבלה. We rise. בואי ושלום, עטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה ובצוך עולה, תוך אמוני עם סגולה. בואי חלה, בואי חלה, יאי די 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 לך דודי, יאי די 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 לקראת כלה, יאי די 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 פני שבת, פני שבת נקבלה, יאי די 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 לך דודי, ידי די 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 לקראת כלה, ידי די 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 פני שבת, פני שבת נקבלה.
We invite you now to rise as able as we call one another to prayer with the Barhu, which you can find in your prayer books on page 28.
Yay die die, yay die die die, yay die 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 die. Yay die die, yay die die die, yay die 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 die. Yay die 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 die. Yay die 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 die. ברכו את אדוני המבורך, ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד. יאי די 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 די.
If you are looking at the prayer book, the link to which I just put into the chat, feel free to read along with me a little bit on page 150. Everlasting love, you offered your people Israel by teaching us Torah and mitzvot, laws and precepts. Therefore, Adonai our God, when we lie down and when we rise up, we will meditate on your laws and your commandments. We will rejoice in your Torah forever. Day and night we will reflect on them, for they are our life, and doing them lengthens our days. Never remove your love from us. Praise to you, Adonai, who loves your people Israel.
אהבת עולם, בית ישראל, עמך אהבת, עמך אהבת. תורה ומצוות, חוקים ומשפטים, אותנו לימדת, אותנו לימדת. על כן אדוני אלוהינו בשוכבנו ובקומנו נשיח בחוקיך ונשמח בדברי תורתך ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד כי הם חיינו ואורך ימינו ובהם נגה יומם ולילה נגה יומם ולילה ואהבתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים ברוך אתה אדוני אוהב עמו ישראל אוהב עמו ישראל שמע ישראל אדוני אלוהינו אדוני אחד ברוך שם כבוד מלכותו לעולם ועד. Someone quite famous is joining us, I believe, for the Ve'ahavta.
I believe that's true. Everyone else may be seated, but not Ari Graf, who I understand is going to lead us in the Ve'ahavta now. So please go right ahead.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם על ידיך והיו בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי ואתם קדושים לאלוהיכם אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם ממארץ מצרים להיות לכם אלוהים אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Adonai Elohechem Emet Yasher Koach Ari powering through.
He's allowed to eat dinner.
Oh, good. You've earned your meal. Beautiful job, Ari. Thank you for leading us. We're going to now recall that incredible moment where we stood on the edge of the Sea of Reeds and looked out on our newfound freedom. We recall that moment every time we sing the Mishibarak Prayer, which you can find in your prayer books on page 40.
מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נהדר בקודש, נורא תהילות אוסף אלה, נורא תהילות אוסף אלה, מלכותך ראו בניך, בוקע ים לפני משה ומרים, זה אלי ענו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. יאי די די, ידה די 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 די, ידה די 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 די, ידה די 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 די, יאי די 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 די, ידה די 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 די, ידה די 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 די, ידה די 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 די, יאי די 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 די, ידה די 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 די, ידה די 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 די, yada day 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 day, yay day 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 day, yay day 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 day, yay day 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 day, yay day 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 day, ידי די 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 ונאמר כברת את יעקב וגאל יד חזק ממנו ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל.
Every Shabbat, we take many opportunities to pray for peace and to give thanks for the peace that God bestows on us. And I think on this Shabbat, we're all feeling an extra need and desire for that peace to be palpable around us. So we're going to take a moment to recognize the Sukkah of Shalom, the shelter of peace that God extends over us all, the Hashkivenu prayer. You can find Hashkivenu on page 43.
השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום, לשלום, והעמידנו שומרנו לחיים. ופרוס עלינו סוכת שלומך, ופרוס עלינו סוכת שלומך. Amen. Shelter us beneath your wings, O Adonai. Guard us from all harmful things, O Adonai. Keep us safe throughout the night, till we wake with morning's light. Teach us daily wrong from right. Amen. 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 Amen.
Every Shabbat, we take advantage of our coming together in prayer to pray for healing of all those in our community who are in need of it, whether that be healing of mind, body, or spirit. And this Shabbat, we think especially for healing of Aharon Ben Tzvi, Jeremy Frick, William Gaines, Mikiko Huang, William Kurian, Monica Levin, Carolyn Resnikoff, Agnes Rothblatt, and Annette Weiner. And to those names, we add any names that you may be saying to one another in your homes, or putting in the chat, or holding in your hearts. We pray for refuah shlema, full and speedy healing for all those in our lives in need of it, with the Mishibarak Prayer, which you can find on page 253.
Mishibarak Avotenu מקור הברכה לאמותינו. May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Mishibarak imotenu מקור הברכה לאבותינו. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shalema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
We now invite you to rise as able as we move into the central prayers of our service, the Amidah, the standing prayers. Please rise and join us for the Amidah, beginning with Adonai Sefatai.
Adonai Sfatai Tiftach, Adonai Sfatai Tiftach, Ufi Yagid Tehilatecha, Ufi Yagid Tehilatecha. Adonai Sfatai Tiftach, Adonai Sfatai Tiftach, Fi Yagid Tehilatecha, Ufi Yagid Tehilatecha. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu ve'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, ve'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor ve'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה, מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן. ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע, משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישוע, ונאמן אתה לחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש. Nachamu, Nachamu, Ami Yomar Elohechem, Nachamu, Nachamu, Ami Yomar Elohechem. Nachamu, Nachamu, Ami Yomar Elohechem. Nachamu, Nachamu, Ami Yomar Elohechem. Comfort us in our wilderness. Comfort us as we struggle to take care of one another. Comfort us in our wilderness. Comfort us as we struggle with this world. Nachamu, Nachamu, Yomar Elohechem. Nachamu, Nachamu, Ami Yomar Elohechem. Comfort us in our wilderness. Comfort us as we struggle to take care of one another. Comfort us in our wilderness. Comfort us as we struggle in this world. Nachamu, Nachamu, Ami Yomar Elohechem. Nachamu, Nachamu, Ami Yomar Elohechem.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Yes, being able to be together brings a certain sense of comfort just in knowing that we are together every week and that nothing will stop that from happening. Just last Shabbat, we took the kids to the Sierra foothills, I guess, to Arnold. Some of you may have been to Arnold. And for the weekend, we went up on Friday and spent Saturday, Shabbat day, snowshoeing among the trees. We got the kids snowshoes for Hanukkah this year, a great gift to their mom, because I love to snowshoe, and getting them on snowshoes meant that we could be out there in the snow all together. We spent the day walking around in untouched, beautiful snow. Little did we know, we had no idea what was going on in the rest of the Jewish world just this last Shabbat as we were blissfully away from Wi-Fi. This, of course, is the first Shabbat following a horrible experience, not only a horrible experience for those who were immediately involved, but for all of us. It was watched by so many people as people gathered around the world in the Reformed Jewish community, the Jewish community, neighbors and friends, people horrified by what was happening. This experience haunted us all, not knowing how it would end in the moments just as we were figuring out how to send a message to our community. Drama was unfolding in the synagogue in Texas. It was an experience which, by all accounts, was unique, as each of these things is, but it is a dot that gets connected to other dots and creates a picture, one which has filled in over the years and become increasingly frightening. There are so many issues to contend with. What have we all been talking about this week in the Jewish community? So many topics of conversation. I'd like to mention a few things that you may have thought about or read about or even talked about with others who remain so concerned, so unable to figure out what our next steps must be. First of all, people have been talking about the balance of welcoming and security. How do we do that? We are a community committed to welcoming people in, people who are known to us, people who are adjacent to us, friends, neighbors, people that we want to welcome into the midst of the Jewish community. How do we do that and maintain a safe space? It is a challenge for us to be able to open our doors, and over the years, our doors in every Jewish community in America have become more and more closed. We don't want to be a people walled in, and yet we must maintain security for those within our walls. This is a conversation to be continued for sure as we struggle to figure out how to maintain some kind of balance. Another conversation all over the news this week and in so many of our hearts and minds is the very disturbing rise of anti-Semitism in America, stemming from this misguided notion that we have some undue power in government and society. Also, this is a conversation that needs to be continued, that has escalated from the left, from the right, the anti-Semitism that is rearing its ugly head and presenting itself everywhere is terribly, terribly frightening. And then many conversations have taken place about the importance of relationships. How did people react when hearing the news of attack on a Reformed synagogue? What are our relationships like with our neighbors? What relationships have we cultivated with other faith communities, with law enforcement, with government? I want you all to know that as soon as I turned my phone on after Shabbat in the mountains, in the cabin, when we were able to get Wi-Fi, the very first contact that came into my phone, the first text on Saturday night, was from Michael Pappas, director of the San Francisco Interfaith Council, where I serve on the board. I took over Rabbi Larry Phelps' chair. When he retired, I was asked to come on board and to be part of this faith organization that has been so important to Shereth Israel and to our leadership for so long. Michael Pappas, its director, reached out in friendship and in solidarity, promising the support of the interfaith community here in San Francisco and letting us know that we are not alone in our experiences, in our fear. We were also contacted by networks within the Jewish community, JCRC, AJC, Federation, and many other organizations, all working together to ensure our community's safety and well-being. It was an upwelling of love and cooperation amongst so many organizations in San Francisco and across the nation. And of course, so many of you who wrote to say, we are here, we are together, we are frightened. Are you okay? Are we all okay? Your emails expressing concern and a feeling that this is something affecting all of us were very powerful and very meaningful in the early part of this week and throughout this week as we've navigated uncharted territory. As I read the Torah portion this week and thought of all of these topics that have been floating around, the balance, how do we live, the role of the Jewish community in the larger community, in all of our relationships, I realized that Parshat Yitro, this week's Torah portion, has a lot of wisdom to share with us to help us navigate our modern situation, though these words, of course, come from a very ancient time. This Torah portion is called Yitro, named for Moses' father-in-law, a priest from another clan, not an Israelite. Their relationship is one of interfaith understanding and sharing, and yet Yitro becomes a central character in our story, providing a suggestion which helps to establish Israelite society. Yitro teaches Moses that living in society is all about relationships. This is what allows people to live together in peace and to construct a society that works. Yitro teaches Moses to set up a court system so people can solve their disagreements and build a strong and autonomous society together. His teaching is the basis of our legal system today, but fundamentally it's about the way we construct the fabric of our society, the way that we live together, learn to trust each other, and to find space for each of us to be independent among neighbors and friends. So all of these conversations swirled around. I'm sure many of you participated in them, read about them. In addition to all of these significant conversations about welcoming, security, anti-Semitism, interfaith relations, communication, and all the other things that have been swirling around, I think the most important discussion this week has been the hardest one to talk about, to acknowledge, to say out loud. There is so much fear in our community. Fear about what it means to gather, fear for our safety, fear for the future of our country, fear for our community, fear of violence, fear of losing our compassion and becoming hardened by our fear. This week, so many famous statements on fear have been quoted. There is nothing to fear but fear itself. Or from our own tradition, Kol ha'olam kulo gesher tsar me'od, lo lefached klal. The whole world is a narrow bridge. Don't be afraid. Nice sentiments, both of them. But our fear is real. It resides right here in the middle of our community. Of all that was written this week, I found the most moving and powerful comments to come from Amanda Gorman. Remember her? She was the prescient and eloquent poet laureate who delivered her exquisite poem at President Biden's inauguration. She stood on the steps of the Capitol, a place still swirling with fear. She wrote an essay published in the New York Times this week titled "Why I Almost Didn't Read My Poem at the Inauguration." I hope you've seen this article. If not, take a look at it following Shabbat. This poised young woman stood there and so eloquently spoke to all of us about new beginnings and moving forward together. I never would have imagined that she was terrorized by so much fear. She wrote in her essay, "I almost declined to be the inaugural poet. Why? I was terrified." She wrote, "COVID was raging and my age group couldn't get vaccinated yet. Just a few weeks before, domestic terrorists assaulted the US Capitol, the very steps where I would recite. I didn't know then that I'd become famous, but I did know at the inauguration I was going to become highly visible, which is a very dangerous thing to be in America, especially if you're Black and outspoken and have no Secret Service." She continues, "The night before I was to give the inaugural committee my final decision felt like the longest of my life. And then it struck me. Maybe being brave enough doesn't mean lessening my fear, but listening to it." She faced her fear, of course, and Amanda Gorman gave us words about starting over and collective trauma. But looking back now, she reflects on her fear and on what it meant to her. She wrote, "I'm a firm believer that often terror is trying to tell us of a force greater than despair. In this way, I look at fear not as cowardice, but as a call forward, a summons to fight for what we hold dear. And now more than ever, we have every right to be affected, afflicted, affronted. If you're alive, you're afraid. If you're not afraid, then you're not paying attention. The only thing we have to fear is having no fear itself, having no feeling on behalf of whom and what we've lost, whom and what we love. Looking back to the day of the inauguration, Amanda Gorman comments, while the inauguration might have seemed like a ray of light, this past year for many has felt like a return to the same old gloom. But though our fears may be the same, we are not. If nothing else, this must be known. Even as we've grieved, we've grown. Even fatigued, we've found that this hill we climb is one we must mount together. We are battered, but bolder, worn, but wiser. This week in America was a heavy one for every Jew in this country. Thoughts of what if filled all of our minds. That could have happened anywhere. That could have happened here. One rabbi posted on Facebook last Saturday night, she said, "I don't think any of us will sleep well tonight." Certainly the fear that has enveloped us is so uncomfortable. It's not something we want to sit with, and yet it is the reality of this time. So we must acknowledge its presence. Amanda Gorman's article reads like a prayer for our time, for our community. She writes, "I'm not telling you to not be tired or afraid. If anything, the very fact that we're weary means we are by definition changed. We are brave enough to listen to and learn from our fear. This time will be different because this time will be different. We already are." Our wise poet laureate concluded her article this week talking about the terror she felt at the inauguration and what she feels as a Black woman in America with these words: "Fear can be love trying its best in the dark. So do not fear your fear, own it, free it. Why? The truth is, hope isn't a promise we give. It is a promise we live." We come to the end of this week surrounded by fear and worry, but also surrounded by community and a sense of hope. Not a promise we give, but a promise that we live. Tikva. It is the hope of a better future. It is the hope that our values, our welcoming of the stranger, will indeed prevail. As we sit in this uncomfortable place of fear, we sit also with hope. As Jews, we know that sometimes those two go hand in hand, and yet always we look to the future, not because the whole world is a narrow bridge and we don't feel fear, but because the whole world is a narrow bridge and we do feel hope. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Even in times of difficulty, we have so much to be grateful for. And as we gather tonight, there are many things that we must thank God for. One, of course, is our ability to gather soon again. We pray in person to be able to hug each other and to know that our community remains safe and strong. Also in our community on this week, we received the wonderful news of the arrival of baby Aruda, the son Otto of Dr. Megan Marmer and Andrew Aruda. He was born on Monday and will join our Shereth Israel community. Soon, we hope in person we'll be able to celebrate them. So that's wonderful news to be able to share. Other simchas, happy occasions that you'd like to share, something that you'd like to tell us is going on in your life, even on a really difficult week, please put into the chat so that we can all celebrate along with you. We'll join together in these really meaningful words, thanking God for giving us life and sustaining us and enabling us to reach this day.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam שהחיינו וקיימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה. Amen.
We turn to page 282 for words of Aleinu, which literally means it is upon us. It is upon us to keep having hope and to keep building a better and better world. Page 282.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
We turn now to page 294 as we remember those who came before us and continue to inspire us. We thank God for the lives that they lived and for the legacy that they have left us. On this Shabbat, we remember for Shloshim, the first 30 days of mourning, Shoshana Chana Asher, Patricia Mednick, and Caroline Vorsanger. If you are observing Shiva or Shloshim, the first 7 or 30 days of mourning, please say a name out loud where you are or put a name in the chat so that we may know for whom you pray tonight. If you're observing the first year of mourning, please stand also or put a name in the chat. The perpetual memorials on this Shabbat are Ingrid Apter, Judy Migdale, Leon Mervis, Harold Weiss, and Joanne May Weiss. The yard sites in our community on this Shabbat are Bernard Blattner, Joanna L. Cohen, Arnold Deutsch, Morton Dunn, Dr. Elliot S. Eisenberg on his first yard site, Sophie Green, Lottie Harmon, Ann Horowitz, Alexandra Yobashvili, Moses Yobashvili, Eva Jaffe, Robert Kornblatt, Rama Weisblum Lapushin, John Levin, Annette Mallow, Edward Moss, Sydney Oatner, Lucille Pasek, Bernard Saul Rest, Lester Schreiberg, Shirley Sladnick, Dr. Karen Spivak, around the time of her first yard site as well, Leo Walt, and those whom you mentioned out loud or in the chat now. We stand with our mourners as we support you and honor the memory of all of our dear ones. Kadisha Tom can be found on page 294. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, v'alma divrach yirtei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, v'agalau v'zman kariv imru, amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam olmei almaya yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei d'kudsha brichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbachata v'nechemata damiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlam araba min shemaya v'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru amen. Osei shalom v'imromav hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel ve'imru amen. May God, who brings comfort to those who are mourning, bring comfort to all of those in our community and to those who are bereaved everywhere. And we say together, amen.
Amen.
Please be seated. If you're standing, just a couple of announcements in our community. Tomorrow morning, 9:15, please join me for Torah study on Zoom. We'll be talking about the 10 Commandments and lots of other interesting things in this Torah portion. So I look forward to seeing you. At 10:30, please stay online for the Bat Mitzvah of Aurelia Wunsch. We'll have some beautiful music and a very nice teaching from one of our wonderful young people about this week's Torah portion. We are excited to celebrate with the Wunsch family. Other announcements?
Just a couple of things a little further away. But first of all, thank you so much for your words of comfort in this time, Rabbi. I know that I certainly felt the sense of community from you, and thank you for bringing us together and making us feel like this is really a moment for our community as well. On February 12th, we are starting our morning services again. So our morning minyan will be starting again on February 12th, and probably the second week of each month. And additionally, on the 18th, we are going. We have a Yap event at Dino's. We'll have a pizza and wine Yap event on February 19th. So please join us for the morning minyan, probably in person, though we will see on February 12th at 10:30 a.m.
That's a great reminder too. Our Introduction to Judaism course is going forward. We will begin on Wednesday evening, February 2nd. We are going to be in person. We may be in hazmat suits, but we're going to do this. So our first meeting will be in the sanctuary, and please register. You must be fully vaccinated and boosted to join this class. More information about the class itself will be available as soon as you register. So you can look online, talk to Peter Bonos, or call the front office during the week. Anything else, Rabbi Phelps?
Nothing leaps to mind except that we will be meeting for studio this Sunday, and we'll be meeting at the synagogue, but then going over to Lafayette Park and having our whole session outside. Speaking of hazmat suits, so as to avoid that, and we'll keep meeting outside for as long as we feel like we need to in order to be safe. So if you're a studio family, we look forward to seeing you Sunday.
Excellent. Please raise your cups of wine or juice. Cantor, are you leading us in Kiddush, or is it somebody else?
I believe it is me. Yes. But if there's anyone here who would like to spotlight or ask for motzi, that's great too. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho be'ahava uvrtzon hinchilanu zikaron lema'aseh v'reishit כי הוא יום תחילה למקראי קודש, זכר ליציאת מצרים. כי בנו בחרת, ואותנו קידשת מכל העמים, ושבת קודשך באהבה וברצון הנחלתנו. Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat. Amen. L'chaim.
Those of you who have chalot, I saw on Facebook, I get all my news from Facebook. I saw on Facebook that there it is. That's what I saw on Facebook. Ruth's gorgeous 10 commandments. Look at that. Complete with the Hebrew letters. Couldn't get better than that. Yes.
Ruth, you have outdone yourself. They're always great, but this one is extra great.
Outstanding. I don't imagine we have any other tablets among us in challah, but please hold up your chalot. There's, I see Dorothy and lots of you out there who are holding up chalot. Ruth will hold the 10 commandments for all of us.
Yes, and we say together, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. B'tei avon.
Te'avon. We will conclude our service tonight on page 353. If you have the Sidur with Od Yavo, peace will still come to us. This is from a band called Sheva, and they're singing about peace in the Middle East, but you know what? It applies here too.
Absolutely.
Get better.
Thank you. Od yavo shalom aleinu, od yavo shalom aleinu, od yavo shalom aleinu ve'al kulam. Od yavo shalom aleinu, od yavo shalom aleinu, od yavo shalom aleinu ve'al kulam. Salam aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Salam, 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 aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Salam, salam. Od yavo shalom aleinu, od yavo shalom aleinu, od yavo shalom aleinu ve'al kulam. Od yavo shalom aleinu, od yavo shalom aleinu, od yavo shalom aleinu ve'al kulam. Salam aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Salam, salam, salam aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Salam, salam. Od yavo shalom aleinu, od yavo shalom aleinu, od yavo shalom aleinu ve'al kulam. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom, everybody.
Shabbat shalom.
Thank you so much to Peter Bonos and Zach Migdale and, of course, Jonathan Dimmock. It was so wonderful having you with us. And thank you especially to Peter for... My sound might have been a little better tonight because we have been running all kinds of cables through my apartment. So thank you for assisting with that too. I hope that the landline worked well, as they say.
Oh, it sounded great. Jonathan's music was beautiful. All worked fantastically together. So thank you all. And thank you for being part of our amazing community. We move as we need to create new spaces, but we will soon be in our home here. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shalom.